Well, welcome folks to another little episode of Whitebeard's Kitchen. I know I said I wouldn't see everybody to the new year, but you know, it's 12:15 at night. I'm on holidays, having a little drinky poo. Wife is up the stairs working, nobody's about, and I'm bored shitless. So what I thought I would do is I would show you a very simple focaccia bread. Really simple. It's overnight, there's no kneading to it, which is absolutely great. So there's no effort to it, and really it is really foolproof. So first of all, what I have in this little bowl is I have 650 grams of plain flour. I've sifted that. What I'm going to do now is I am going to take a teaspoon of salt. Well, I'm using my tablespoon, so half that. What I'm going to do is just mix this. Make sure that all the salt is in it. There's more salt actually goes into this little recipe towards the end when it's ready for cooking. I can now shift that over. I have 600 mils of warm water, not boiling, kind of blood temperature. I'm just going to pour a wee bit out here and just add another wee small taste of warm water in. It's got a little bit cool. And as I said before, I get the DTs. Not because I have alcohol, because of the lack of it. And this is only my second one at 12:15 on Friday morning, the 30th of December. I'm going to add in 7 grams of dried yeast, fast active dried yeast. You can buy these little packets, they come in a box, but 7 grams in a supermarket. Absolutely fantastic. What I'm going to do now is add to that, not sugar, but I'm actually going to use honey for this bread. So I'm going to add in roughly a tablespoon of honey. Make sure you get all that in. And the thing is, you don't want any salt, so that's why the yeast doesn't go into the flour, because salt will kill the yeast. Just make sure I have that in. Just add another little bit to make sure it's a full tablespoon. There we go. That's it. I'll leave the spoon for licking after. You know my little habit, I'm getting better at this, you know. So there we are, that's the honey. And suppose out of sight is out of mind, and not to spoil things, I'll put that in the sink so I don't lick it. What I'm going to do now is grab a wooden spoon. If you can bloody well find one. Nope. What we'll do is we will use a whisk, another whisk, just whisk this through. Okay, make sure that yeast is incorporated with the honey. And what the honey, like sugar, will do with the yeast, it will start to activate it. Make sure it's all well mixed. And I'm not sure whether you can see this, but there's a bit of a foam on the top. Hopefully when I come back, and I'll be back in 15 minutes, which will give me a chance to have this little drink and maybe a potential start of another one, then I'll show you the next process. Well folks, 15 minutes has elapsed, and if I can maybe bring this forward, I'm not sure whether you'll be able to see in this, there's a nice foam sitting in with the yeast, the warm water that I had, and the tablespoon of honey. And for some reason, yeast reminds me and smells like beer. Absolutely wonderful. Alcohol on the brain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this in to the flour and the sea salt, and that yeast is definitely well activated for sure. Scrape it all in, and I'm just going to mix this dough, or mix the flour I should say, and the water to form, it's a very wet dough. So don't be alarmed at this. Mix it round, mix it well, get all that flour incorporated. Keep turning the balls, scraping at the sides, making sure I'm getting all the little bits off the bottom. Yep, and as you can see, maybe I'm wearing again my Black Sabbath t-shirt. I haven't got any flour on it, so it doesn't look as if Black Sabbath have been participating in something which they shouldn't do, but they did during their day, believe you me. That's why they created songs like Fairies Wear Boots, You know, the bold Aussie, seeing things that normal people don't see, unless they've had a little bit of certain substance. Move my little glass out of the road, and no folks, that's still that same glass of alcohol which I had. So I haven't poured myself another one. I haven't been a greedy so-and-so. So get all that flour well in, mix it round, make sure as much as possible there's no flour left. And there it is, it's starting to come together. Hopefully you can see this. Hopefully when I get this into a big bowl that I have here, I'll show you very shortly, and get this sitting overnight in the fridge. You can leave this out at room temperature if you want, obviously covered for 4 hours if you want to bake it the same day, but I'm going to be a lazy sod and take no stretching or anything because I'm doing this overnight method. It's turned out pretty well on a couple of occasions. This will be the one that will bloody well fail. Hopefully not. Next little step, I'm going to push this bowl out of the way, bring in a larger bowl, and to this I am going to add 3 tablespoons of good old olive oil. So bear with me. It's 1 in, 2, and 3. Just give it a bit of a swirl. The last time I made this, I poured half the fucking stuff over the table. The table got more than the dough did. Just simply pour this into the bowl. Get it all in. Even as it goes in, you can see like it's the elasticity of it. Now imagine me pronouncing a word at this time in the morning. Get me olive oil again, and what I'm going to do is just put a little bit on my hands. Very good for them. Rub it on. That's the only good thing about this. You end up with hands like a baby's bum. So what you want to do is fold over, turn in the bowl, and keep turning. Make sure that dough is saturated with olive oil. It is an oily bread, as you might know, and you see the size of this tomorrow, and all being well, it baked. I mean, you would pay, I'm going to say maybe £5–6 in a shop. Okay, so I'm just going to wash my hands here, excuse me. There we are. Could sing that song, hands that do dishes are as soft as your face, with mild olive oil, not very liquid in this sense. Anyway, and we're going to cover this with cling film or plastic wrap, depends where you are in the world. And I have to be honest, this is one fucking job or one utensil in the kitchen that I hate. I think whoever invented this must have been a sadist, because it is the most awkward friggin' thing I can possibly think to work with. Mind you, my God, I cannot believe this. I am having an easier time than I normally do, because it drives me bucking scotty, and there's anything puts me in bad form. It's cling film. At this time of night, I can honestly fucking say I don't want to be in bad form. I want another wee sip or two of alcohol before I retire to my bed. Just want to make sure that that's properly covered. And it's as tight as I can get it. That's that. I will now leave this in the fridge. Anything between 18–24 hours. I'm going to say tomorrow night, I'm hoping, at around about 6 o'clock, I will be able to put this little beastie into the oven. In the meantime, I'll see you tomorrow evening. Well, I'm going to say good afternoon, everybody. I did this probably, I think, about 1 o'clock this morning. I said I would leave it for about 18 hours. This is now, I'm going to say, probably it's 12:30, so I've left it for 11 hours overnight, and hopefully what you can see is loads of bubbles here, and that's what you're looking. So it looks as if it's set very well. I've got a kind of roasting tin baking dish here. You'll see the size of it. I'm going to say maybe about 12 inches by 8. And hopefully what I'm just going to do is eyeball roughly a tablespoon just drizzled of olive oil. That's plenty. I'm going to put in some salt, not an awful lot, maybe about 3/4 of a teaspoon just along the bottom. So there'll be more salt added to the focaccia before it goes into the oven. So just give this a bit of a rub. Okay, your baking tray, don't worry too much about it. Just move that over so that's ready prepared. I'm just going to turn the dough mixture. As you can see, it's kind of sticky. Just turn it round. Just give that one more bit of a whirl in the olive oil without knocking out too many of those bubbles. Now, let's pour this into your baking tray, roasting dish, whatever it is you want to call it, and spread that mixture out just very gently, as much as possible, to the edges of the baking tray. It will spring back a bit, don't worry about that, that's kind of will happen. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave this roughly for an hour sitting uncovered at kind of room temperature, just to let it rise just that little bit more. That will sit for an hour, and hopefully then it'll be ready for the oven. Well folks, now for the final bit of the preparing of focaccia bread. I've actually had it near sitting out at room temperature for about 2 hours. And what I have in this med pestle and mortar is about 6 or 7 garlic cloves. I'm just going to bash these into a bit of a paste. I should have fresh basil, but I don't have any. So what I will do, I'll improvise with, I'll put a couple of teaspoons of pesto basil in this. So I'll put some salt in here. So I've already started pounding the garlic cloves. Not very good to talk, is it really? What do you call it when you're making a lot of noise? So Trevor, be quiet. Just put in now the basil pesto, a couple of good heaped teaspoons, and one for good measure. Give that a mix around with the garlic. Okay, I have the oven heating 220 degrees centigrade, and that's conventional oven. And then I'm going to 200 degrees in a fan oven, which I have, so mine is a fan oven, so it's 200 degrees centigrade. There we are. Before I spread this over, if you want to make obviously the lovely indentations that you see sometimes, just very simply, with your fingers, obviously your hands are clean, you'll see, okay, I know it's going up, and I know that it's set. Just little dollops along this, and you can put on as much as you like, quite like this, basil and garlic. There we are. What I'm going to do is obviously sprinkle now some sea salt over the top, because if you know, you bought focaccia from the shop, it's quite an oily and it is salty. We're nearly there, and that's all we want in terms of salt. What I have here is some rosemary, so I'm just going to pull little bits of that off, just pull downwards on the stem, just another little bit of flavour to the focaccia. Right, there we are. What I'm going to do is just spread this over with my hands. It is already very oily, so hopefully not too much will come off. Yes, it's moving about, don't worry. It'll reform back into its shape. Spread that paste and lovely basil pesto and garlic mix. Say, great if you have fresh basil, but I didn't have any in the house, so improvising a tiny little bit. That's the oven. I just see it ready to put it in. So this goes in, as I say, 220 degrees in a conventional oven, 200 degrees in a fan. Can't remember what the Fahrenheit is, so for people in the United States and elsewhere that uses Fahrenheit, I'll let you do what I do, always look up the little conversion tables. So this will go in to the preheated oven for roughly 20 to 25 minutes. That's, you know, a nice golden brown top on it. I'll let you see that once it comes out. Just keep a little eye on it. I know 200 degrees centigrade fan oven, but all ovens are slightly different. And then we'll look at the finished product. Once it comes out of the oven, normally, if it's cooked properly, I let it sit for 10 minutes, then I remove it from the tin, put it onto a wire rack, add another tiny drizzle of olive oil over the top, and then let it cool. Well folks, it's been 25 minutes in the oven, thereabouts, and as you can see, it seems nice and brown, golden on the top, just hitting a bit of a knock. Hopefully it's cooked through, so I'm going to let it sit for 10 minutes. What I'm going to do now though is just a drizzle of olive oil over it. So it is a bit of an oily bread, but just want to soften the top a little bit. And there we go. Just a little sprinkle again of salt over it. Over the top as well. Just a little bit more here of oil. Let that sink in. There we are. Hopefully in 10 minutes time, when it's cooled, what I'll do is I'll remove it very carefully with a spatula onto a wire rack and let it cool. Well folks, this has now been resting to cool down. Here is the moment of truth. Let's hope it does look light and airy in the middle. We will soon see. One has cut, and yes, you can see the bubbles in it, the little holes. This is what you've actually been looking. So I didn't leave it in the fridge for as much as I normally would do, about 18 hours. I only left it in for about 12. You could get away with maybe 12 hours in the fridge rather than 18 to 24. So there we are, that's great. I will slice it up, and when I do, I can then call the hungry hordes. Well, it has been cut up into nice little squares, pieces that people can come along and pick. Hopefully you can see some of the basil pesto and the garlic that's soaked through into the focaccia. All I will say is, I am going to have the first bite, so I'm going to have a bit, and that's delicious. It is airy. There is that wee bit of a chew you expect from focaccia. Absolutely lovely. Excuse me with my mouth moving, but I'm going to say, try this. Really simple. If you like it, please do give me a thumbs up, and please do subscribe to my channel. Right, rock on folks. Have a good New Year's Eve and a New Year's Day. I definitely won't be back because it's a bit of a special day tomorrow for me. See you soon, rock on, and see you in the new year.